I thought that there was something wrong with me because I had no self-control. And so it's a vicious cycle, because as the sugar cravings increase, so does the weight gain. It also causes high blood pressure, and it makes it very difficult to lose weight after years and years of exhaustion. My name's Bobby. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm in my late 40s, and I was recently diagnosed with severe obstructive sleep apnea. Let's debunk some myths about sleep apnea, what it is, what it isn't, and how to get diagnosed. You are waking up multiple times an hour, mostly without realizing it, because the airways are obstructed, which means that you essentially can't breathe. So your body wakes you up. So this can happen for many reasons. For some people, the blockage is in the nose. For others, the blockage is in the throat. It can be as easy as having the tonsils removed. It can be a combination of both. Sometimes just sleeping in a different position can help. So before I talk about some of the different treatment options that are available, what sleep apnea is not is a breathing problem in day-to-day life. I think one of the misunderstood things about sleep apnea is it's not caused by an unhealthy lifestyle. And I'll get into that a little bit more later on in the video. Certainly an unhealthy lifestyle is not complementary to sleep apnea. Well, it's not complementary to anything, is it? Let's talk about the CPAP machines that look like oxygen masks. And I think a lot of people think that if you sleep with a machine like that you sleep with an oxygen mask. It's actually a machine that forces air into the airways so that you don't wake up from not being able to breathe. So sleep apnea is not a lack of oxygen. In order to have an official diagnosis of obstructive sleep apnea, you need to have at least 5 apneas per hour. Anything less than that is considered in the normal range, and it shouldn't affect your life too much. If you have more than 5, then you probably will notice some symptoms. It also causes high blood pressure, and it makes it very difficult to lose weight, partly because there's a hormonal imbalance due to the body's inability to rejuvenate itself. You know, when we're asleep, that is when our body repairs itself. I think I also need to talk about sugar cravings as well. People that have chronic fatigue are at a higher propensity or are more likely to reach for sugar to give energy. And I know with myself, to do simple tasks on days where I'm feeling extremely fatigued, I might have a quick sugar hit, and that will give me another half an hour to an hour of being able to do something that I need to do. And so this was a revelation to me, because I thought that there was something wrong with me because I had no self-control. Over time, the accumulative effect of not having deep rest each night, years of the body not repairing itself properly. And so it's a vicious cycle, because as the sugar cravings increase, so does the weight gain. And as the weight gain increases, so does the sleep apnea. This can be a very difficult loop to get out of. The other danger is caffeine intake, because we are trying to muster the energy to just simply survive some days, and that can be really damaging over time, and it also does have an impact on how we sleep. However, it's going to take a lot more than just switching to decaf to help me get the rest that I need. A couple of years ago, I did use brute force. And so 3 years ago, I started one of those diets. There's many of them around. You drink 2 protein shakes per day and then have a main meal. And I lost quite a lot of weight in a short space of time. And I managed to keep it up the first time for 2 months. Um, it just wasn't sustainable in the end. And so it was really difficult to stay on track with that diet because, well, I was starving, basically. And anyway, a year later, I decided to try it again after having put all the weight back on. But the second time round, I made some changes without realizing it, developed my own food map that was really sustainable for me because the food was really tasty and I didn't feel like I was missing out. But I'm going to talk more about that in another video, and I'll share with you my secrets. When ultimately, if the sleep apnea is not cured, then it's going to be more difficult. Obstructive sleep apnea is something that I have probably had most of my life. When you're in your 20s and 30s, you can just push through the fatigue. It becomes very normalized. You know, your default setting is maybe a little bit more sedentary than the average person, but generally speaking, you are able to push through the fatigue. But then for me, once I hit 40, I started to notice I was becoming more tired, more fatigued throughout the day, less energy, definitely putting on more weight. And you know, you go for all the tests and they all come out fine. Oh, your blood pressure's a little bit high, but apart from that, everything else is within range. I was even told, oh, you've got the body of a 21-year-old. And I was thinking, I don't feel like that. And, you know, that's another thing that comes with this condition, is this feeling of being old before your time. And so as I've put on more weight and my blood pressure has increased, that's also started a new vicious cycle, in that my anxiety has increased because I'm worried about how the rest of my life is looking, with having no energy, high blood pressure, more susceptible to heart attacks, stroke. Early onset Alzheimer's is also another condition related to obstructive sleep apnea. So it feels pretty serious to me. Luckily, I am due to have proper treatment for sleep apnea very soon. If you're having some of these symptoms, two things you can ask yourself is, do I snore heavily? And do I wake up at least twice during the night to go to the bathroom? Of course, these things can be unrelated, but if you've got the other symptoms to go with it, don't wait. Just go to your doctor and ask to be seen by a specialist. And one thing I will say is that I really had to push to be taken seriously, because from what I'm understanding, even my doctors didn't really know what sleep apnea was. They had an idea about it, but they're not really trained or well informed on it. I can even remember bringing it up with one of my doctors and him saying to me, oh, you just need to lose some weight and you'll feel better. Like, you don't want to be sleeping with a machine. And so I didn't take it so seriously. They weren't. They just, oh, I just needed to lose weight. And so there are various treatments available for sleep apnea. Before I talk about those, I just want to tell you the timeline of from when I started to feel like something was wrong until being diagnosed. I would say around 7 years ago, I started to notice that I felt more exhausted than usual, but I just carried on. I didn't really think about it too much. Then I got diagnosed with high blood pressure, I think the year after. Once I got the hypertension diagnosis, I started to really get worried, like, oh wow, there's something really wrong with me. And the medication really was difficult to get used to. I had to try quite a few different ones. And then my anxiety increased because I started to think, like, I thought I was still young, you know? But over time, this slowly creeps up on you until I reached a point where I really have to choose carefully about what I'm spending my energy on each day. I'd say that I have about 1 or 2 good days per week. And when I say good, they're still substandard actually, but they're days when I feel like I can accomplish a lot more and that I can move a lot more and that I feel any sense of being energized. And so around 12 to 15 months ago, I found some sort of lump in my neck. I went to the doctors, they sent me to the ear, nose and throat department, and it turned out to be nothing. But whilst I was there, I happened to mention that I found it difficult to breathe through my nose. And so I also told the doctor that I thought I might have sleep apnea. He immediately put a camera up my nose and identified that I had a deviated septum. I didn't know, it was just normal to me. I think it's very interesting how we just normalize things and get used to them. We can quickly forget that actually there is something that requires our attention. And so he put me on a waiting list to have septoplasmy surgery, I think that's what it's called, where they correct your deviated septum. That surgery happened around 9 months after that. So we're talking about 6 months ago, I had that surgery, and it's definitely made an improvement. However, it has not cured the obstructive sleep apnea. Oh, how many times am I going to say sleep apnea in one video? And so the surgery itself was relatively straightforward. Certainly some discomfort for quite a few days, if not a couple of weeks afterwards. And then after that, things improve week by week, and it's still a little bit sore to the touch, sort of 6-7 months later, but I don't even think about it now. And I can definitely breathe better through my nose, especially when I wear the snoring strips, you know, the ones that widen the nasal passageways a little bit. Yeah, it's made a big difference, but it hasn't cured the obstructive sleep apnea. Now, what I did at the same time, when I originally went to the ear, nose and throat specialists about the lump that had appeared in my neck, I also went to my doctor and I demanded that I be taken seriously and be seen by a sleep clinic. And so I wanted to be seen by the UK's top specialists, if possible. So I had to wait a bit longer for the actual sleep study to come through. They send you a device and you sleep with it for one night and you upload the results. This probably took about between 6 and 8 months before I had the initial consultation. It will probably be a bit quicker for you if you don't choose the top specialist as I did. So there are various treatments available. You might have a surgery on your nose like I did to correct deviated septum. There's also a mouth guard that you can wear at night that pulls the jaw forward so the back of the tongue doesn't close off the airways like that. Hope that was a good demonstration. And there are various surgeries available as well, but it really depends on where the blockage is. And I think the hardest thing is identifying, you know, it could be because you sleep in a certain position and it closes off the airway. So since I got my official diagnosis a couple of months ago, I've had a renewed sense of hope for my future. And you have to understand that even if I could be cured from sleep apnea right now, my body still has a lot of repair to do, and I still have a lot of weight to lose. And so I'm really excited to know that treatment is on its way. I have decided to document my journey back to health, and I just want my life back.